The man who was arrested for allegedly throwing a bottle at Cleveland Browns owner Jimmy Haslam said some pretty interesting things in his arrest video. Criminal defense attorney Kathleen Bogenschutz will break it down. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Losses in football, they can be tough. I get it. You get emotional, you get upset. But for one fan, looks like he took it to a whole other level. Well, allegedly. A man named Jeffrey Miller was arrested for throwing a water bottle at Cleveland Browns owner Jimmy Haslam after the team's loss to the Jets a few weeks back. He was arrested on suspicion of assault, failure to comply with a lawful order, and disorderly conduct because he reportedly failed to comply with officers when they were trying to detain him. Now, it's not entirely clear if he's officially been charged. There was some mixed reporting on the charges, so we're not entirely sure about that. What we do seem to know, though, is what we think is going to happen is the Browns do plan to ban Miller from coming back into the stadium. Well, now the arrest video of Mr. Miller has been released. There is a lot to break down there, and I thought, how can we break this down best? Well, to help me do that, I'm joined right now by criminal defense attorney Kathleen Bogenschutz. And Kathleen and I are going to break down this video and see some of the highlights. Kathleen, thanks for coming on to Sidebar.
Oh, no problem. It's a fun one.
Before we even get into the video of the arrest, you've seen the video of the throw, right? Of the water bottle being thrown at Haslam. What'd you make of that?
I'm very torn here because as a former prosecutor, I can say it does meet the technical description of the crime. But as a human being, do I really think that this is the best use of our tax dollars? Prosecuting somebody who's probably not totally sober, who's upset about a loss when the Browns could just trespass him from the stadium.
What makes you think he's not sober? Oh, I'll tell you what. Let's watch this. Let's watch this video and we'll break it down on the other side. Okay, so this first one is from, it's all about him like right after he's detained, right as he's being put into the police cruiser, and then he's driven to the police headquarters. This is from September 18th. He's taken into custody by officers at First Energy Stadium. Let's watch.
There you go. Up until you see a judge. The county will let you know the whole process, but basically you're going to be down there until you see a judge, okay? It's not our jail. The county has a better time frame than I do. They'll let you know what the process is and how fast to be able to see the judge. What's that? So you're, like the other officer said, you're under arrest for assault, failure to comply. And what was the other one? And disorderly conduct. Okay? Hang tight, all right?
Okay, so he's confused, right? He the first thing he says is, am I going to jail for a while and I'm being arrested for a water bottle? What did you think of that?
Well, I mean, if I were the prosecutor on the case, he's handed me a lovely admission that it was him. I mean, because it comes out of the crowd.
That's what I thought.
It was like, I don't know how strong it was prior to the cops putting cuffs on him, but it just became a lot stronger. And nobody could try to say that that was a custodial interrogation because he's volunteering it.
Well, you said he might be intoxicated. What happens then?
For a custodial interrogation?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there is some case law that indicates that if you try to interrogate somebody that you know is totally intoxicated, there is a situation where you could try to suppress the statement. But in this case, he's volunteering it while intoxicated. I really think this is going to be totally admissible.
And he seems to be very shocked that he would be arrested for this. But is it commonplace? Is it commonplace for people to be arrested like this for throwing things during sporting events?
As a lifelong Miami Heat fan, I can tell you I have seen it happen. Mostly in the late 90s when the Bulls would knock us out.
What? I hope you're not advocating anything here. I mean,
No, I was not involved. I was very young, but I did see it.
Right. You were preparing to prosecute those cases later on.
Yeah, but I mean, most of the time they're just trespass from the arena as long as it's not something crazy. It calls to mind that, a couple years ago, 25 years ago, when the Panthers were in the we're in the Stanley Cup Finals, everybody threw rats on the ground, and it was like kind of a cute little thing.
That's not the cutest. But I want to let's continue on with this. So
Rubber
when
rat.
he's in, oh, that's good. When he was, so he's put in the police cruiser, and I want to play you this part because it seems that he's still confused.
Can I call anybody now or no?
Not right now. Like I said, they're gonna let you make calls once you get down to the county.
So give me the rundown. What happened? What's going on? Why am I in
Like I explained already once before.
What's that?
Like I explained already once before.
Yeah.
They called. They said you assaulted somebody, threw a water bottle at somebody or something like that. I'm not here to argue about that. So they're the ones doing the filing the report and the charges. So like I said, we're just here to take you to the county jail.
No, I got it.
Yeah. So he asks if he can make a phone call. He asked earlier if he can let his wife know that he's not coming back. And he said, can you give me the rundown about what's happening here? I can't tell if that's maybe the shock of the event, maybe alcohol, or maybe again, he really feels what he did was not wrong and doesn't understand this.
I mean, it was a water bottle, not a deadly weapon. I think the misdemeanor charge is definitely as high as it could go here. But I mean, it's on camera. Then he admitted to it. And I really don't see, unless they have a victim that says, I don't want to prosecute him, I don't see how the cops get away with not arresting him.
It's funny you say the water bottle's not a deadly weapon because the Browns released a statement. They said fan, player, and staff safety is the top priority in our building, and behavior that puts others in danger will not be tolerated. Luckily, no one was harmed in this incident. And as a standard practice, we've cooperated with law enforcement authorities, and security video footage of the object being thrown is in the appropriate hands. We'll have no further comment on this matter. Does it matter if the bottle was full? Does it matter if the bottle was empty? Because I feel like it could cause some harm. It could cause some damage.
It could. I would say there's a better argument if it was frozen, um, or something to that effect. And yeah, anything you throw could potentially cause injuries. But and I don't want to get off topic, but I find that really rich coming from the NFL. When it's compared to what happened at the Dolphins game last night. That like, oh, it's our highest priority.
Well, I have a question. I mean, the police, the way they're handling this situation, the arresting officers, what did you make of how they handled it? Obviously, I think they're in a position where they can't provide more information than they have. You know, they have a specific job. They detained him. They tell him what they're detaining him on suspicion of what the charges are. He can make a call when he goes to the headquarters. But how did you think the way they handled it?
I mean, I thought they were pretty professional, as far as you could be. I mean, most cops will tell you that it is so not fun to have a drunk human being in your vehicle. And you're saying, why would I say he's intoxicated? Well, he's at a sporting event. It's in Cleveland. It's freezing. Alcohol warms you up. And also, Cleveland fans are not known to be teetotalers. So
Let's go a little bit further into this. There's a part where he asks an interesting question. Let's take a listen to it.
The name of the report, I can see it.
What's that?
The name of the person in the report.
The report's not yet generated. Yeah.
You'll be able to hear him or anything like that.
No, I don't have any of that information. And I wouldn't be able to give that to you.
Oh.
Yeah, that'd be something that you'd be able to find out once you attend court.
Is it Kevin Spelsey? Is it Kevin Spelsey at all?
I'm not familiar with the name, sir.
I can't tell if he said Kevin Spacey or he said some name towards the end, but the more important question is that he was asking if he can have if he can tell the officer can identify the name in the report. I'm assuming he's asking who the complaining victim is in the report. I mean, he's not getting that technical, but he wanted to know what the report said about him. It's not standard practice for him to get a copy of that at that point.
no, not at that point. There's states with very, very tight victim laws protecting victims. I am unfamiliar with Ohio's policy on that, but when he was like, "Oh, I can't tell you that," I mean, that makes sense to me. You can get it when your lawyer gets it.
Again, we're kind of unsure about what the status of the charges is right now. Do you think that you mentioned it kind of before, but do you think, what is it? It's assault, disorderly conduct, a failure to comply with a lawful order. Do you think these kinds of charges should be brought against Mr. Miller? Do you think he should be prosecuted for this?
Um, I get the feeling that the Cleveland Browns organization will ask to press charges. And in some states, the victim gets input, whether or not they want to go forward. So, especially with that admission, I can't imagine that you can't go forward on it. So it became a stronger case when they started arresting him and he started running his mouth. But I don't think it's the best use of taxpayer dollars, given how big of a Browns fan he seems to be. I think that banning him from the stadium would probably be a fate worse than death.
Yeah,
Maybe
I would,
hyperbolic there.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm also the opinion that I think that this is more about deterrence, right? They don't want people throwing things at the players, the owner, any of the staff. You send a strong message. Obviously, this is making news. His police tape is coming out, so who knows? Kathleen Bogenschutz, thanks for taking the time here on Sidebar.
Good to see you.
And everyone, thanks so much for joining us here on Sidebar. Please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. We'll speak to you next time.